Oh yeah, Black Suit's back, baby. As I promised in my John Wick Chapter 2 review, I'm going to wait us again for my John Wick 3 review. And finally, it happened. Now, let's review this third installment of this awesome trilogy. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. So John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum is of course the third John Wick movie in this trilogy right now. Literally, John Wick has made a trilogy now. Just did not expect that at all. And this movie, of course, it is once again by Chad Stahelski and stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Halle Berry, Asian Kate Dillon, and Mark Dadzikos. I think I say his name right. Hope I did. So basically, after the events of John Wick Chapter 2, John Wick is now running away from the Continental because there are these assassins that are, of course, coming after him. And that is all I'm going to say for John Wick Chapter 3, because there are plot points in the film that I don't want to spoil because it's a new movie that came out this year. Now, of course I was excited for John Wick Chapter 3. I think reviewing the first two is basically enough reference to that, because I love the first three John Wick movies, especially the first one. I love that those two movies introduce this whole world of assassins and the Continental, so I'm very excited to see what this world brings in John Wick Chapter 3. And of course the trailers look really good. I didn't watch as much trailers because I want to go into this movie a bit more blind. I've only seen the first teaser, and I gotta say, right when I walked out of this film, I gotta say, at first, this is my least favorite out of the John Wick trilogy, but doesn't mean I didn't like the movie though. This movie is still kick freaking ass, baby. Literally, this is a good trilogy, honestly. I didn't expect this trilogy to be all that great. Ever since the John Wick Chapter 2 movie came out. Literally, this is a good trilogy, and of course this is a pretty solid, fantastic, fun third installment of this really fun trilogy. You know what I'm going to say about Keanu Reeves as my positive. He was great in this movie, and he does, of course, 98% of the stunt of this movie. But I love this character of John Wick in this film because there are so many challenges that John Wick has to face in this film, because the action scenes of this movie gets more insane, and John Wick has to, no choice but challenge himself through that. But Keanu Reeves as John Wick, of course he was great. No shit for that, because he was great in all these movies, and I gotta say, John Wick is still the most iconic Keanu Reeves performance of all time since The Matrix. But we also got some new characters in this film. We get Halle Berry in this film. Halle Berry was really cool in this film, even though she was literally in one scene of this movie, one big action scene of this movie. She is still freaking good in this film as her acting wise, and that's what John Wick movies are really good at. When the side characters are only two or one scene in the movie, their characters are still well developed and fantastic. Halle Berry was awesome, and of course her dogs. Her dogs were awesome. Her dogs kicked so much ass in this movie. That scene with the dogs, pretty fun, badass scene. And I gotta say, this guy who plays, the main villain's henchman in the film, I said his name before, I couldn't say his name again, but I would say he's pretty good in the film, and he plays a different character than I thought he was going to accomplish. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but he was pretty cool in the film also. Also, of course, we get the returning cast of Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne was great in this film also. Ian McShane, of course, he was great in this film. I gotta say, Lance Reddick, who plays this, front door man in the Continental, who basically, he kicked so much ass in the film. I loved him from the first two, but we finally get to see him, basically in action, and he was so badass in this film also. Basically, this is an R-rated version of Kingsman, more R-rated than Astro. Speaking of R-rated, this movie should have been R-rated, R-rated in general, because the action scenes of this movie is way more insane than the first two. Honestly, this is probably my favorite action segments in the John Wick trilogy. Honestly, there are scenes with knives and swords, and the action scenes how they filmed were fantastic, were fun and gritty. It's so much fun seeing it in the cinema. Honestly, I'm so glad I see John Wick 3 in theaters, not like the other two, because it's so much fun hearing those punches loud in the theater. The violence is freaking insane in this film. The action scenes, of course, they're bloody, freaking awesome in this film. But to me, John Wick Chapter 3 might be my least favorite John Wick in the trilogy, with its flaws in the movie, but I still had a fun time with it. The action was great, the cinematography was great, the acting was fantastic, but there are a couple of issues with the film. First of all, the story wasn't as fantastic as the first two movies. There are plot points in the film that I just feel it didn't need to be there. Like, there was a scene where John Wick's in this desert and stuff like you've seen in the trailers, and there's like a plot point in that, and I figure out that does that really need to be there? And I just can't help myself. There are so many stupid stuff that happened in this movie. Like, for instance, John Wick gets his ass kicked most of the time in this film, and I just figure out, like, how did he freaking survive that moment? Even the ending of the film that I'm not going to spoil, there's a bit at the end I'm figuring out, how did that happen? How did this freaking happen? I'm trying not to take this movie seriously, but just with these moments, I just keep thinking to myself, how did this moment happen? Like, seriously. And also the villain in the film, I thought she was annoying. I'm gonna be honest. I thought the villain in the film was just not as developed as I wanted it to be like the first two movies. The first two movie villains are really great developed. This film, I just feel like she doesn't do anything in the film. She just warns people a lot in the film saying, if you don't get that thing, you'll get this and all that stuff. Mostly her henchman that I mentioned before is basically the main villain in this movie. She's just wandering around, just talking to people and doing nothing. There's not even an action scene with her character. And that's pretty disappointing. I just want to see her kick ass as well, because she looks like one of those ass-kicking assassin type characters. You know what I mean? But guys, overall, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is a great first installment. Honestly, I enjoyed this a little bit more than John Wick Chapter 2, but I could say out of the story-wise in this trilogy, this could be my least favorite. But I gotta say, this film is still great. I do, of course, recommend that you guys see this film. Keanu's is great. The action, it just makes this movie so good. The action is just so much fun in the film. You do follow Keanu Reeves in the film as John Wick running away from the Continental. The action things gets more insane, more fun, and more cheesy in a really good way. I do recommend you see John Wick Chapter 3 because I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum a big thumbs up rating. So guys, I've reviewed this trilogy. Holy shit. So guys, that is my review for John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this movie? Do you like the movie, hate the movie, or thought it was okay? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter. Keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, notified for my latest reviews, and have a nice day.